There's two 12mm bolts holding the intercooler on here and here, and then there's one other one for the bracket for the intercooler right here. And then there's two 10mm bolts that hold your recirculator valve in. Take those out, undo this air hose, and undo this air hose, and your recirculator comes right out. And then there's a hose clamp down in here that holds your intercooler to the intake. So you're just going to loosen that up, and then your intercooler just comes right out. A little bit to get it out of that hose. There you go. We're going to have to take your radio out probably.
We got to unscrew it from the left side. Looks like we're taking the whole front dash off.
Oh, you should have seen my car when I had to do this. Except I went in through that grommet, not that one, but my gauge is installed above the radio, obviously. And I wired the gauges straight to the wires for the radio, which is probably the easiest way for you to do it too.
This one, it has two wires. One that goes to the
these
dimmers. Yeah, one's a 12 volt.
These are the four you gotta wire.
That one's ground. So yeah. No, two of those go to, one goes to the TAC input, and then one goes to the dimmer switch. And then one's for 12 volt power.
It's probably your red, and then white is switched.
Switch, and these are supposed to, one of these, I have to look at the things again, one of these goes to the TAC.
Okay, yeah. So once you remove your intercooler, you're going to want to go inside the car. There's a look, because we're going through a grommet that's towards the center of the firewall underneath the transmission mount bracket. So we're going to have to take the radio out to get to that grommet. So you're going to want to remove this side panel, and there's going to be 3 Phillips head screws here, so you're just going to take those out. Yeah. Okay, so once you take those 3 screws out, this little plastic piece with your vent in it, you just got to carefully pull it out. There'll be some clips that'll pop out as you're pulling it, and once you get it right around here, your radio faceplate will start to pop out, so you're just going to pull that off. And just slowly work your way down. You don't have to pull it all the way out. This should be good. Put your vent down there. And once it's out, it looks like the radio just has 4 Phillips screws holding it on, so you just got to take those out. So change of plans, that grommet won't actually end up working just because the HVAC and whatnot is right behind that grommet, so it's not really easy to push things through it. So instead what we're going to do is go through the fender, go down and into the harness for the door, and then just go straight into the car that way. That's probably the easiest way of doing it. Okay guys, so we have this wire run through the fender, down the door jamb, and we cut a little hole in the rubber boot for the door harness, and right now we're just running the car through the frame into the car right near this kick panel. Then it's going to end up going up and over in this area to the gauge pod that we got that's going on right near the cluster, or around the cluster.
You got that car running through the door? How does that separate? A little clip?
Yeah, we'll clip it up. We'll try not to break the clip.
So we got 2 screws at the top
For the cluster, yeah. And there's one on the side that held the whole thing in.
Alright. So we had a slight dilemma. We had to cut down the gauge pod because the gauge was hitting the turn signal stalk. It had no high beams, only if you're turning right. Or left.
To the left?
Left or right. Just not when you're going straight. So we got it all wired up. Chris is just tightening it back down. Then we have to reassemble everything. Mike's still hooking up the dimmer. Is that what you're doing?
Positive and ground.
Positive and ground. So that's what progress we've made in like an hour. So real quick, under the hood, we got the map sensor that comes with it. We got it hooked up to the GFB, what is it, a
circulation valve.
Yeah, but it is a blow-off valve as well, because you can adjust it. Anyway, got it hooked up to that. Then this wire runs up through the fender, into the door, and into the inside of the vehicle. And Mike, you want to explain?
Yeah, so basically that wire runs up through the grommet in the door down there, up to the cluster. And as far as wiring goes, it's really simple. Just, I think it's 3 wires. There's the tack signals, switch 12-volt power, and ground. There's 2 grounds. Both of them I have wired together, and they're hooked up to a ring terminal that I have a screw going through that secures the radio in, which obviously you can't see because the radio's put back in. The tack signal, it connects to a gray wire with a red stripe on the back of the cluster harness. And power just connects to, I think it's a red and yellow wire on the radio. That's your switch 12 volts, so it's all hooked up. It works nicey nice. Yeah.
Chris, where are your keys?
In the cup holder.
On the shifter.
Got a short shifter. Oh, wait.
Yeah, it tells you to shift it like 32.
That's alright. It's like you should really speed.
Yeah. It's got a built-in shift light, and you have to set it up, and right now it is literally set for right over 32, 3500. Optimal shifting for a WRX.
Because who needs to ever hit
Which way's chill down this way?
Yeah. Oh, look at those beautiful headlights. Oh my god. Oh, do high beams work?
Yeah. A little bit. Shift, please.
Alright, in the road.
It's a dead end.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, you ran out of road.
I didn't know that. I would have went the other way. Alright, where are we working?
Works. How do you do with the pink headlights?
Huh?
How do you do with those pink headlights? Oh, it's wonderful.
I might need to change this before I leave. It's so tight right now.
Oh yeah, and that. Alright. Oh.
I definitely need to change this back to PSI.
What?
That is how you do gauge pod install and Innovate Boost Gauge for a 09 WRX.
Well, it's pretty much the same for an 08 to 2014.
Yeah, they're all the same, but this one here is an 09.
Pretty simple. Just 3 wires and a map sensor. Just kind of a pain because you gotta tear your interior all apart.
Yeah, we also had to grind down the
Yeah, the
gauge pod a little bit.
Richard and Chris seem to have bad luck when it comes to buying gauge pods. My gauge pod was perfect for my Legacy. Their gauge pod both required modification.
Yeah. That's it.
Look, mama, I made it to